Welcome to the latest edition of Beyond the Arc. I'm John Gonzalez alongside our NBA insider, Bill Ryder. And Bill, the basketball has been very good and very confusing. Two strange games again tonight. So we're 5 games into the second round, Bill, and the road team has won all of them. The Pacers have 2 of those. The Nuggets have 1. The Knicks have 1. The Warriors got 1 tonight. No home wins yet.
Yeah, and the Cavs were up, 20, and the Warriors didn't have Steph Curry other than for, a little bit of the start of the game. It's the upside down, baby, and I love it. This is how much fun is this, by the way? I'm starting to daydream about a Knicks NBA Knicks in the finals, by the way. Anything's possible now. Everything I knew I'm throwing out the window.
We're going to get an old school Eastern Conference final, Knicks Pacers late 90s reboot. It's going to be fantastic. We're going to talk about the Pacers and that game winner that Haliburton hit, a dagger that just is still in the back or the chest or the heart of the poor Cavaliers. We'll get into that in a second, but we're going to start with the game that just wrapped up. Warriors get one on the road, Bill. Steph Curry leaves the game in the second quarter with a hamstring injury. He was playing great. He had 13 points in 13 minutes. And you think, oh, this spells disaster for the Warriors. Instead, along comes playoff Jimmy. Along comes Draymond Green, who was playing some point center and was playing fantastic. We'll get into his numbers. Buddy Hield off a hot game 7. He had a game high 24 points.
He was great.
He was fantastic. And then on the other side, the Wolves absolutely could not throw it in the ocean or a lake, I guess, because you're in Minnesota. They shot terribly tonight, 5 for 29 from 3. This was a disaster of an effort, another home disaster for another home team for the Wolves. Ant couldn't get going, but really a quality win for Golden State to get one without Steph.
Oh, huge. I mean, and look, the entirety of the series comes down to Steph Curry. Okay, we can talk about game 1. We should. None of it matters. None of it matters for the Warriors if Steph is out. They cannot win the series without Steph Curry. And if he does come back, and maybe if he comes back in game 3 or 4 or 5, whatever, to win this game, to find a way to get through it, to lean on that defense that you and I have discussed has been the best in the NBA since Butler came into the mix, to basically hold Anthony Edwards to almost no points in the first half, just as you noted, to see Buddy Hield become Steph Curry part 2 for the second game in a row. That's such a momentum swinger and just a huge boost. If nothing else, and I hope Steph can get back to the series, and we don't know, but if he's marginal, it buys you some time. I mean, it's only one game, but you extend this series and you extend the window if it turns out Steph's going to miss time.
If I'm the Warriors, I did not love that Steph leaves in the second quarter and goes to the back and is immediately ruled out for the entire game. Like, hamstrings are tricky. For them to immediately flag it, maybe you would think like, okay, we'll see where he is like in the third or the fourth. And they decided, nope, we're going to shut him down immediately. I did like the Golden State response though. We mentioned again, Buddy Hield, who had a hot game 7, having a hot game 1 tonight, 24 points. But what I was blown away by most tonight, Bill, was Draymond Green, who I thought, aside from game 7 against the Rockets, was pretty bad offensively in the first round. Tonight, he was excellent. He had 18 points and 8 rebounds and 6 assists. He was distributing. He was playing defense. He had 2 steals. Bill, he went 4 of 10 from 3. That's his most most threes in the playoffs in 8 years.
And he did that a lot of his work. He had 5 fouls for a big chunk. He got 2 fouls pretty quickly in the second half, where it was like, oh, here we go again. Dre's just going to foul out. I'm with you, and I think it was really important because I would beg to differ a little bit with, and I'm looking at the box score, and the box score doesn't reflect this, but so maybe I'm wrong. I didn't think Jimmy Butler was great. I thought, and I know that he almost had a triple-double. I thought he was passive. Yeah. I thought there were times where there was a moment where he pulled, do you remember this? He pulled a Ben Simmons in the fourth quarter where he basically was in front of the rim and they desperately needed a bucket and he kicked the ball back out to Pajemski or somebody else. So Draymond stepping up huge, Buddy Hield stepping up huge. And you're right. At the end of the day, it's the response from the Warriors that matter. And for me, it's the defense. I mean, you hold the Timberwolves to fewer than 90 points and you make it really hard on Anthony Edwards, even though he got to go in the second half. That is how you sort of survive and hang in there if for however long you don't have Steph.
Where you're getting offense from after Steph was going to be a concern. And then here comes Draymond Green, who scored 15 points or more in back-to-back games for just the second time since the 2020 Warriors. I mean, sure, why not? Jimmy, yeah, I mean, he made a couple of curious decisions for sure. There was also like a Buddy Hield drive where he kicked it out. It was like under the rim. I'm like, I'm not sure what you're doing there. So there were some curious decisions there. However, getting the game on the road, especially when, as you mentioned, the defense was good and really held Ant down. Now, that said, so Ant had 1 point in the first half. He didn't score until 1 minute left in the half. He didn't get his first field goal until 28 minutes into the game. He didn't get his first three until late in the fourth quarter. I thought Gary Payton II did pretty good, played pretty good defense on Ant. All that said, Bill, you look at his stat line. What I liked about Ant in a game where the Wolves couldn't shoot at all was that Anthony Edwards, and I mentioned this on HQ, like we were killing Jason Tatum last night for just settling for threes and step backs. At some point, Ant was like, I got to drive. I got to get to the rim. I got to at least try to get into this game. He was rebounding. I thought he played really good defense. So on a night where he didn't have a shot, he was influencing the game and trying to get them back into it. Ends up with 23 and 14. Like, again, not a great shooting night for him, but this is a guy who went, okay, like I made the most 3-pointers in the NBA this year. I try to change my game. Tonight is a night where I have to change my game in the moment to try to help us get back into it. I thought that was a positive sign.
Yeah, we discussed this, and I love the fearlessness. I love the fact that, as you noted, he wasn't afraid to do it. He didn't have the same gaudy numbers because he only did it for one half, but he basically did the Donovan Mitchell approach. Although Donovan did it for an entire game and got to whatever it was, 48 points. And I know we're going to talk about that game, but Donovan wasn't shooting well. Donovan Mitchell hasn't shot well at all in this series from deep, but he's gotten to the rim and he's attacked the rim. And it was nice to see Anthony Edwards do the exact same thing. And the thing is, both those guys, I think, are going to get it cooking eventually in their respective series. For Anthony Edwards, the problem becomes it's too little too late. And I don't want to pick on him. There's lots of games to go. I don't think you can draw stark conclusions about guys early in series. You have a great game and your team loses a series, right? I've seen James Harden have great playoff games. So I'm not getting on Anthony Edwards. I'm not getting on Anthony Edwards. I love Ant. I love him. However, Steph goes down, maybe turn it on a little bit earlier, because those are the moments when I just want to see someone at his level just put the Warriors down while they're down. Don't give them any daylight.
It took him a while to get going, for sure. I'm wondering about, because earlier today when we were talking about the defensive matchups and the Warriors, again, credit to their defense, but we had questions, call them concerns if you want, about the matchups for the Warriors on the Wolves because of the size differential. And I mentioned Gary Payton drew a lot of the assignment against Ant. They threw Draymond on Julius for a lot of the night. And then they were like they had some Kevon Looney minutes on Rudy. They threw Jimmy on Rudy for times. Steve Kerr went deep into his bag and played 12 guys. I just thought like this was hocus
Jonathan Kuminga. Jonathan Kuminga had 13 good minutes. He's back. He's back, baby. And we talked a lot about this, I guess, yesterday or the day before. I don't even know what day of the week it is. It's all NBA all the time. That we thought, and I still think it's true, that the Timberwolves have more flexibility, sort of tactical flexibility in the things they can do. But some of that was just based on the idea that Kerr wasn't going to revert back to the December plan where he played 15 different guys and talked about the hockey line changes. And he did. And we give Steve Kerr a really hard time on this show, in part because producer Aaron pushes it, and in part because I think it's true that I'm not sure Steve Kerr's ultimate strengths are in-game changes. I think he's really a great man manager. He's obviously unlocked Steph years ago and what they're about. And I think he's probably pretty good game to game. Hey, let's put some respect on Steve Kerr's name too. Like, he did a really nice job managing a pretty tough in-game situation when Steph went down.
Steve Kerr getting some Pat Spencer hook shot at the rim minutes. I mean, come on, like only Steve Kerr could find that. No, I thought like when Steph went out, I wondered how he would deploy Kevon Looney. I wondered what he would do because Podziemski didn't have a good night tonight. Like, would you go to Kuminga, who's not exactly a shooter? And then you have part of the reason why Kuminga fell out of the rotation. Yeah, Looney was. He gave him some really good defensive minutes. Part of the reason why Kuminga fell out of the rotation is that Kerr said, hey, like when we have Jimmy and Draymond and Kuminga on the floor at the same time, the spacing gets super wonky. Well, Steph goes out, and now it's all hands on deck. And like, Jonathan Kuminga didn't like the
was
world.
Wonky, by the way. But they were much better defensively. And Buddy Hield had moments where he was just sort of, NBA jam hot. So the spacing I thought still was wonky, but it worked. I mean, the sort of flip side of that is they were really effective in frustrating the holy hell out of the T-Wolves.
Want to thank everybody that's joining us live on YouTube right now. I want to encourage you also to hit the like button, leave a comment. If you leave a comment, we'll throw some of them up on the show as we go through here. The Golden State Warriors getting past the Wolves in game 1 of the second round on the road. Also, if you click on that little bell symbol, you'll get notified when we go live. We're going to be doing a lot more live shows as the playoffs continue, post-game shows late at night after these games wrap up. And we're going to get into the fantastic heroics of Tyrese Haliburton.
I got my team.
Bills Pacers are up. Well, we'll get into that in a little bit, but I want to do a little bit more Wolves talk here. How did you feel about the Julius Randle minutes, Rudy Gobert, Naz Reid? I thought Naz Reid really bailed them out in terms of like they had terrible shooting night. He hit 3 threes, Bill. They only hit 5 as a team.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't hit their first 3 until what felt like 30 seconds left in the game. It was earlier than that, but it felt like it. Look, this in some ways, so I don't have producer Aaron, correct me here, but I believe the Timberwolves were they were certainly top 4 in number of threes taken per game and in 3-point shooting percentage. They were 3rd or 4th in 3-point shooting percentage. They don't get the same sort of gaudy stats as the Celtics or the same sort of overwrought conversation about the most threes in history. They shoot a lot of threes, the Timberwolves. And like Boston in game 1 against New York, I think the analysis that we need to have is probably pretty similar. They're not going to shoot 17.2% from the 3-point line going forward in the series. So there's going to be a course correction, and I'm not that worried about them. And I wanted to ask you, because my wife hates these questions, and usually I spend more time together now than I do with my wife. So I'm going to ask you and see if you hate it too.
Please ask me.
What is the exact percentage chance that the Warriors can win this series? Because I do think the Timberwolves are going to regress back to where they're supposed to be. Percentage chance Golden State can win this series if Steph Curry does not play again in the series.
1 in 5, 20%, maybe even 25%, 1 in 4. I mean,
I was going to go 11.2.
Okay, 11.2 is a specific percentage.
Very specific.
I was thinking, I mean, I give them, we thought when we did our series predictions, both of us ended up on the Wolves, and of course, naturally, they go out and lay an egg in game 1 and lose. But we both had them winning this in 7. I think it's that close. And when you looked at the betting line, it was extremely close. It was the closest betting odds of any of the 4 second-round series. Now, without Steph, that changes dramatically, right? Because you take one of your closers off, you take your highest game scorer, you take your best shooter. So, yeah, I think that the odds dip dramatically. But, yeah, I'd give them like maybe 1 in 5. I mean, they already have a game in hand.
They do have a game in hand. I thought the offense I thought was so stagnant. I mean, we're not really talking that much about how poor the Warriors' offense was because they won the game. Their defense was really good. And Buddy Hield, because Buddy Hield is not going to score 24 points and hit, 5 or 6 3-point. I don't think. You know what? What the hell do I know? Everything's upside down. No home team has won. We're 5 games in, as you noted. 5 games into the second round. Home team hasn't won. Maybe it's 80%.
It's never happened. As we just did HQ, and as we were getting off HQ, Chris Williamson said that this has never happened, that through the first 5 games that the road teams have won all of them and the home teams have not won any. Absolutely remarkable. This one, again, if I'm the Wolves, I'm not that worked up about it. I think that they'll probably course correct. They're going to shoot better, and I'm super not worried about Ant. I am, however, much more worried about the other team that lost tonight, the Cleveland Cavaliers. So let's talk about them. We're going to take a quick break, and then on the other side, we'll get into the Pacers stealing one in Cleveland. This is Beyond the Arc.
The clock never stops. Relive the greatest moments with uninterrupted highlights and more.
It's Gareth Bale! Ronaldo! Wonderful goal!
On the UEFA Champions League channel. Streaming free.
All right, welcome back to Beyond the Arc live on YouTube. A reminder, hit that like button, leave a comment. We'll throw it up on the show. Subscribe to the show, and then click on the bell symbol. You'll get notified when we go live. A lot more live shows coming as the postseason continues. All right, Bill, tonight, earlier, before the Warriors and the Wolves, the Pacers and the Cavs. The Cavs were without Darius Garland, Evan Mobley, DeAndre Hunter. Donovan Mitchell had a supreme night. It looked like they were going to win this game. They're up 14 at the start of the fourth quarter. Though, at the end of the game, here comes Tyrese Haliburton, who had 11 in the fourth quarter. He's at the line. He makes 1 of 2 free throws, rebounds his own miss. They're down 2 as the clock starts to expire. Bill, you and I think separately, were screaming at him to get to the rim, kind of like what we were yelling at Jason Tatum last night. Instead, no, step back 3. Pacers win 121-19. They're up 2-0 on the number 1 seed. That was the best team in the Eastern. If you're the Cavs, you got to be reeling. And if you are the Pacers, you're on cloud 9.
Hey, can we put you and I discussed this right after it happened. Let's put some freaking respect on Tyrese Haliburton's name. This dude was in an anonymous player polls we talked about, voted the most overrated player in the NBA, which is utterly ridiculous. And by the way, I was looking at this. In the last 20 years in the playoffs, only 2 players have hit game winners with 2 seconds or left on the clock. One is Tyrese Haliburton, 2 in the same playoff series. One is Tyrese Haliburton, the other is LeBron James. And I didn't know this either. This year, with 2 seconds or less on the clock to either tie it with 2 minutes or less to either tie it or take the lead, this guy has made 10 of his 11 shots over the course of the season. I mean, he has been, because he's not a gaudy scorer, he needs to score, but he creates, he facilitates. The Pacers are really deep. Carlisle runs out a bunch of guys. You kind of never know on any given day who's going to be the second most important player, even the most important player. But he's the engine and just under the radar. And I keep talking about this, and you and I have been pushing this, and this is a Pacers team that has the 4th most wins after the big 3 since January 1st. They're, by every metric, going back to sort of put aside their first 25 games. Since then, they're one of the best teams in the NBA, including a top 10 defensive team. They are really, really good. And I know Cleveland was missing guys. To squander that Donovan Mitchell game and to give the Pacers the daylight that they obviously were able to utilize to win the game, you got to respect your opponent more than that. It is unforgivable from Ty Jerome, who was 1 for 131, and everyone else not named Donovan Mitchell on that team. Brutal.
I'm so glad that you brought up the Haliburton athletic overrated piece. You brought it up on HQ, and I thought it was such a good point because there's a little sprinkle. I don't know what it is about Haliburton. The guy right behind Haliburton was Rudy Gobert. Everybody loves to hate Rudy Gobert. There's a little dusting of that same thing on Haliburton where people like to hate him. And somewhere, John Haliburton, who has been banned from the rest of the postseason proceedings, Tyrese Haliburton's dad, was just, I don't know, like trash talking random neighbors walking down the street or something. Like, that's my kid. Haliburton was huge when it mattered. He didn't have, I don't think, his best game. He started out pretty slow. Again, he's finished with 19, 9, and 4, but he had 11 in the 4th quarter, including the game winner. And to have that step back when I thought he should have got to the rim, frankly, and just like knock it down cold, decide I'm not going to go for the tie. I'm going to go for the win here. I mean, just unbelievable. And if you're the Cavs, Bill, okay, look, you can't do anything. Game 1, you had Mobley and you had DeAndre Hunter, and they end up getting hurt on successive possessions. But no Darius Garland either. So now you've got 2 of your 5 guys out, and you come back and you respond in a game where it looks like you've got it under control, right? You were up big for much of the game. Donovan Mitchell had a supreme. You could not ask Donovan Mitchell to do anything other than he wasn't great from beyond the arc. But again, he was a guy who decided, okay, my shot's not falling from beyond the arc. I'm going to influence the game by getting to the rim, by scoring, by shooting 21 free throws, making 17 of them. He played great defense tonight. For them to waste that effort on a game where they're at home and they've got 3 guys out, and now they got to go to Indianapolis, Bill, where
they're good.
Indiana Pacers are awesome at home.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, the chances of the Cavs getting we might be looking at back-to-back Eastern Conference finalists, the Indiana Pacers.
It's amazing. And by the way, I need to say this because I raised this and I think it was totally legitimate to raise. But I talked on the podcast, on the HQ, on the radio show. I never post on X over there about Donovan Mitchell had questions to answer about whether or not where he sort of falls on the spectrum of postseason guys. Right, there are guys that are great. There are guys that are good. There are guys that are bums, like James Harden. That's just a reality, right? These are human beings, and there's a spectrum. And he was amazing. No Mobley, no Hunter, no Garland, and it looked like no problem. And life is unfair, and that's part of the thing about sports. Like, they're unfair sometimes too. This guy answered rose to the challenge, answered the bell, whatever. And for his team to let him down, to not just grab the freaking rebound on the missed free throw and the game, and you probably win the game. I mean that was a little, in fairness to the Cavs, that was such a scramble. It was such a fire drill. And here comes Tyrese Haliburton to get what was tipped before Haliburton got it. Yeah. He also almost fell over. Did it look to you like when he was dribbling out? I thought he was going to fall over in travel for a second.
I thought he was going to fall over. And then I wasn't sure who was on him, if it was either Neesmith or Nemhard late when he
I
hit
can't
that.
remember.
He kind of
Such
like did a little hezzy step back,
Yep.
and he lost the defender. And then for him to, I think the defender was as surprised as you and I were that he nailed that three or even attempted it. So, but if you're the Cavs, all right. So you had a fantastic season, Bill. Unbelievable. The best team in the Eastern Conference, the number one offense, a top 10 defense, the coach of the year, the defensive player of the year. And now all of a sudden you're down 2-0 and you got to go on the road. Bill, if they crash out in the second round here, injuries are part of it. It sucks.
Whatever.
The timing is awful. It could happen to anybody. But if you lose in the second round and you don't, we had all, I think, just assumed that it was going to be the Cavs and the Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals. Yeah. Isn't it a failed season for them?
100%. By the way, it doesn't matter what you do in the regular season if you don't live up to it. I'm pretty sure that Donovan Mitchell was a 1 seed with the Jazz one of those years. And I know that George Karl, this is old, this is like a while ago.
Oh, wow. You're going deep in the bag. Yeah.
They were 1 seed 1 year, and he was coach of the year. And he got fired in the offseason because it doesn't, like, the regular season can tell you a lot about a team, but it doesn't always. And we get hypnotized by whatever. It's 82 games in many months of basketball. It makes sense. Yeah, they'll just fall into a long list of teams that are just forgotten to the dustbin of history. If they lose in the second round, and I think the Pacers are great. And again, I've been sort of pushing this on the podcast. Let's not pretend that I thought they were going to beat Cleveland, but I thought they could. And I thought they deserved more respect. Yeah, I thought they could. And it looks like they can. It's a totally failed season. And I don't think you even get to play. I don't think you're allowed to play successfully the injury card, John, the 3 guys that missed tonight, when you're up 20 in that game and the way that you lost. It sort of negates the argument that that's the reason or the only reason or the primary reason. You just, as Chuck said, it was a choke job. You choked it away.
I mean, you can see here the Pacers 20-point comeback wins and the game winner by Haliburton, and both of them with under 2 seconds left, with just about 1 second left. First in the first round series against the Bucks, and now tonight against the Cavs. Man, I mean, for all the things that people say about Tyrese Haliburton, that guy just plays, right? I mean, like, sometimes Rudy Gobert does live down to the moment. I've been pretty consistently a Rudy Gobert defender, and I think the hate has gone too far. But for Tyrese Haliburton, who had an uneven season last year, the second half was bad. He goes to the Olympics. He doesn't get played. First half of the season this year, he's a little shaky. So is the team. But then all of a sudden, like, he kind of figured it out. The team figured it out. They've been playing great defense. And for him just to be like, okay, this is a big moment. He did it against the Bucks, and then another big moment against the Cavs on the road in game 2, where you can really put their backs up against the wall. You said it, man. People need to give him credit. That was an unbelievable night from him.
Other than Trae Young, who did this coming out of college, out of Oklahoma, I can't remember a player who has been as streaky for as long. Because if we go all the way back, last year, not this past season, the season before that, Haliburton was one of the best players in the NBA up to and beyond the play-in tournament. Remember that? And then he got hurt, and he was basically like bad. And then he kind of got it going in the playoffs last year. And then he was awful again for 25 games to start this year. He has these crazy streaks of being really on and really off, and I don't know why that is. And right now he's been in this mode for a while. I think this is actually who he is. He's been in this streak of being outrageously good, and credit to the Pacers. Like, I was looking at their roster today. Like, I was looking at like the box score and going through everybody after the win. There's a lot of really good basketball players in that team. They have done a really impressive job of building a team that doesn't have a singular. There's not a single superstar in that team. Maybe I should put Haliburton in that category. There's not, but there are. There's Haliburton and there's Siakam and there's Miles Turner.
And Siakam, by the way, who hasn't exactly had a great playoffs. Turner was really good.
I know, and I love Siakam too.
I do too. I do too. It hasn't been a great playoffs for him. So the Pacers, Bill, I think sometimes it's easier to overlook them. You definitely flagged that they were playing great in the second half of the season, but they're the Indiana Pacers, right? And we don't expect a lot from them. Last year, everything broke right for them, and they make it to the Eastern Conference Finals, and everybody went, "Congratulations, nice job. You're going to get steamrolled by the Celtics." Although I thought that they played the Celtics really tough in that series, even though it didn't show up in terms of like how many games they won. Bill, if they make the Eastern Conference Finals again, isn't it like at some point, shouldn't we be looking at Rick Carlisle's bunch as, immediately this year, everybody looked at the Knicks coming into the season and the Sixers coming into the season as foils for the Celtics. Well, we know what happened in Philly, and the Knicks, I'm still not sold. I want to see what happens on the rest of the series. I think that the Celtics are going to course correct and get through that series pretty easily. But if the Pacers make another Eastern Conference Finals, like, shouldn't we just be talking about them too as one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference next season?
And I'll go further. And I'm with you on the Celtics, but the Celtics are capable. They're not going to go 15 of 60, but they're capable of shooting 53s and making 31% of them, and having Jalen Brunson pull some Tyrese Haliburton moves, or maybe Cat have a – I mean, the Knicks can win that series in part, I think, if the Celtics just shoot poorly, if the Missoula ball strategy backfires in the short term. If that happens, Pacers over the Knicks to go to the finals, man. I mean, that'll be the pick. That'll be the pick.
The NBA would absolutely plots. They would lose. The NBA would lose their stuff if the Celtics were out, the Knicks were out, the Lakers were out. Who knows if the Warriors end up out, and all of a sudden it's like Oklahoma City and Minnesota or something.
I take it back. There's zero chance the NBA will allow the Pacers to beat the New York Knicks in a conference finals. I don't. And those guys get mad when you joke about that. The guys in the league office, because I'm not joking. You are
going back to that would be a fun little callback from the late 90s battles between the Pacers and the Knicks. Let's wrap it up on this right now. As we mentioned, 5 second round games so far. The road teams have won all 5 games. So the home teams over 5. Of the 4 home teams that have not won a game yet, let's order them. Let's power rank them from the team that you're least concerned about among the home teams to the team that you're most concerned about for the home teams.
So I'm power ranking the Warriors, the Thunder, the Celtics, and the Cavs.
The Wolves, not the Warriors.
And the Wolves, excuse me. Yes. Excuse me.
From least concerned to most concerned.
I'm the least concerned about the Celtics.
Same.
Yep. They've won a championship. By the way, they won a championship last year with Jason Tatum not shooting particularly efficiently, which he's still not doing. I think eventually I've seen the commercial. I saw the commercial today. I'm humble. I'm not going to don't skip steps. How about you get in the step where you shoot well?
Are those Jason Tatum arms? What are you doing there?
That's just me being like, I'm a good guy.
I agree with you. I'm least concerned about the Celtics. We talked about this earlier on the show. We talked about it on HQ as well. I thought that loss, while congratulations to the Knicks for pulling off the win, I thought that the numbers trend towards disaster for the Knicks if they don't figure out a way how to slow down the Celtics. I mean, if the Celtics had just hit one more three, it's a tie game. And if they had 2, they win the thing. And if Jason Tatum just goes to the hole late in the 4th quarter, maybe they don't even go to overtime. I just think that's why Joe Mazzulla didn't seem super concerned. They had a game plan, and
it was so chill.
Sometimes they're cold, and I don't think they should be worried at all. So yes, Celtics least concerned. All right, next.
I'm glad you liked because people.
I did.
You're watching on YouTube, you can see what I'm doing. But yeah, if you're listening, what are these?
Well, we described it. He's doing some.
You're good at it too.
Almost.
Yeah, I like your version of it as well.
Thank you very much. I'm going to work on that.
So I'm going to work my way from least concerned to most concerned. The next team that I'm the least concerned about after the Celtics is actually the Wolves. Some of it is because I am that much of a believer in them, and some of it is because I'm very worried about Steph Curry not being around.
Yeah, same. I think, yes, if Steph doesn't play, that redounds to the Wolves' advantage. Ant had a bad game tonight and still put up numbers and changed the way he played in the moment, which I thought was an encouraging sign. And they all had energy and momentum, and they didn't quit. I thought that was an encouraging sign, which leads me to, I know that we're going to be the most concerned about the Cavs. So the second most concerned then, Bill, is Oklahoma City, who I want to see how they respond in game 2, because this whole playoff tested thing, get punched in the mouth on your floor, had a game in hand, looked like it was yours. And all of a sudden, Nikola Jokic, there's never going to be an answer for Nikola Jokic. Nobody can guard that guy, but for Aaron Gordon to hit another game winner, he's the Tyrese Haliburton of the Western Conference, man. What a fan. I'm worried if you're Oklahoma City, you really need to respond in game 2.
This feels like my redemption year after I really fumbled the Wolves Phoenix Suns prediction last year. Because if you remember, I will remind you if you forget, here's me being Jason Tatum arms. I like the field against the Thunder because I did worry about – I sort of ranked some of these Western Conference teams really highly, like a lot of us do. I think the Thunder are in trouble. I just – and maybe they'll win and they'll win in 5 and these things happen, but they gave that game away. And it exposes, I think, if you're a historically great basketball, I mean, they are historically great sort of in the net rating and point differential and all the different ways you can rank these
the
things.
defensive rating.
Yeah, amazing. But if that transfers automatically to the playoffs, which, by the way, breaking news, it does not. But for people, then you don't give that game away. You don't almost win 70 wins and give that game away in the regular season. It's a different thing now.
And that was in a game where SGA played great. And Bill, I hate this, the way that it's setting up. Like, look, if you're the Oklahoma City Thunder and you're the best team in basketball and you put up all those metrics, you absolutely have to beat the Denver Nuggets, who just fired their coach and their general manager because things were going so badly at the end of the regular season. But if for some reason they don't get out of this round, and if SGA wins the MVP, he's never going to hear the end of it. They're never going to hear the end of it. We're going to have a whole year of, oh, great, SGA won the MVP. Well, guess who the best player in the world actually is?
It's totally unfair.
It is totally
you're right.
And
but I did vote for Nikola Jokic, so I didn't even think if that's another reason for me to root for the Nuggets. By the way, selfishly, I really want Denver to win because my brother lives in Denver. So my brother lives in Denver. My best friend lives in Minneapolis. Things are trending in a pretty good direction for Bill Ryder, for this guy.
Take that, Oklahoma City. Bill does not want to come to your city. You can find him.
I used to live there.
Blue Sky.
My brother was born there.
We mentioned how concerned we are about the Cavs. I don't think we need to belabor that anymore. But man, of all these teams, I'm kind of shocked that they lost both games. Again, injuries can happen. It sucks at the timing, but what a brutal loss tonight for Tyrese Haliburton. I mean, they had that game the entire game, Bill. And I thought, what a fantastic response by the Cavaliers, by Donovan Mitchell. And then they just give it away at the end. Absolutely brutal. You can see there Jamal Collier putting up there how historic this was. Just brutal loss by the Cavs. We'll see if they can respond in game 3 when they go to Indianapolis. That's going to do it for us tonight. Another amazing night of basketball. The playoffs have been fantastic. We're going to be with you throughout the rest of the playoffs. As I mentioned, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Click on that little bell symbol. You'll get notified when we go live, and we'll have a whole bunch of more shows coming up for you as the playoffs continue. But for now, for our NBA insider, Bill Ryder, I'm John Gonzalez. Thanks for joining us, everybody.